Hey guys, thanks for joining me. So in today's video, I'm going to answer the question of, are pull-ups enough for your back training? Can you get away with just doing pull-ups, or should you be doing rows as well? So let's jump straight into the video. So I'm going to come from this for maybe a couple of different angles, maybe what I would say is answer two main questions. And if you're still wanting to know, is it possible and how to do it? At the end of the video, I'm going to show you how you can do and make sort of pull-ups the only back exercise that you could possibly do. So like I said, we're going to talk about this question and come from it from sort of two different questions. The first one is why? Why would you just want to do pull-ups? Why wouldn't you want to do rows as well? So for some people, it might be limited time. Maybe it might be access to equipment. It might be someone who is looking to do sort of a minimalist style of training for whatever reason. That would be a why on why you would want to do it. And that's a perfectly reasonable idea of doing it. If you're doing minimalist training and you just want one back exercise, the pull-up is going to be a very, very good back exercise you can do. And it is going to be working your whole entire back. If you are someone who is limited on time, again, the number of exercises that you have access to, you want to pick ones that are going to give you the most bang for your buck. And obviously the smaller number you have, the quicker your workouts are going to be. And obviously the pull-up is something that is going to hit the whole entire back. So it's a good exercise to do. Maybe even equipment, like you might not have access to do pull-ups. Maybe you've just got a pull-up bar and you can just jump up and do pull-ups. Maybe some of the places it's difficult to do or you don't feel safe using two chairs. Whatever your reason for doing it, that is a valid excuse. The next question is going to be is it optimal? Is it an optimal way of training to just do a pull-up? And obviously the answer to that is going to be a no. If you want to be able to maximize your potential and how big you can get your back or how strong you're going to get your back, by doing both of them is going to be the best of both worlds. Why? Because one of them is a vertical pulling motion. The second one is a horizontal. So again, how our body is moving, portion of our weight that we're going to be using, the proportion of what muscles are moving as the main prime movers in that exercise are going to be different. When you're doing the pull-up, the prime main movers are going to be something like the lat. The mid-back is utilized, but the primary main driver is obviously going to be the lats, where if you're doing a row, again, depending on whether you have your elbows flared or inside, a lot of the main drivers are where a lot of the actual tension is going to be placed is more in the mid-back. So if you want to get more all-round back development, and you're not just thinking, right, I want to just get the minimum done that's going to hit it and do it enough, but I want to be able to maximize how big and how strong I can get my back, you're going to be best doing both. And again, especially if you're doing a lot of pressing movements, it's going to be good to be able to actually get in some horizontal pulling and balance those muscles that often get neglected, like the rear delts, the rhomboids, mid and lower traps. So if you can strengthen them, which they do get hit in the pull-up, but in the inverted row or any sort of rowing, they're going to be the prime things that are going to get it. So you need to answer yourself that question for you is, why do I want to do that? Not everyone has to focus on optimal. We're not pro athletes, we're not bodybuilders. Training for performance or our job or how we train isn't impacting our livelihood. It's not what's bringing our money. Then do you really need to focus on optimal? Maybe you just want to focus on aesthetics, just being healthy and just being fit. Then yeah, sure, the pull-up is enough. You don't have to worry about what's optimal. It's going to be what you can find consistent, what you enjoy to do. And if it gives you the results, like I said, your whole back will be hitting the pull-up, then why do you have to focus on optimal? So now we've sort of covered those two sort of points. I'm going to give you an idea on how you can actually do it. If you do just want to focus on just pull-ups, how you can do it. But the best way to do it is to try and make your pull-up more into a row. So it's very, very easy for people to jump up on the bar and just focus on just getting their chin over the bar. It's very, very easy to just sort of make the exercise feel very arm dominant and lat dominant. What you want to focus on is changing your pull-ups. So instead of thinking of chin over the bar, you want to focus on chest to bar. You really want to focus on lifting that chest up and getting into thoracic extension. By doing that, you'll instantly start activating your back, your lower traps, your mid traps, and you really start activating it there. If you then start pulling the bar to your chest, it ends up being sort of like a hybrid between sort of a pull-up into a row. And if you focus on doing that and actually trying to get under the bar, pulling into sort of like vertical row, you're actually going to be getting a more back activation, the benefits of what you're going to get from doing rowing, which is going to be that horizontal pulling, but you're adding it into your pull-up variation. So that's one way in which you can actually get rid of the row and sort of turn your pull-up into a pull-up row hybrid, allowing you to still get a good mid-back activation or just doing one of the exercises. One other way in which you can try and get more of a mid-back activation when doing your pull-ups is to actually do them off something like these or even gymnastic rings, or sometimes as simple as getting into a pull-up where you're able to do a neutral grip. The reason being for this is when you're doing a pull-up or a chin-up, your body tends to be behind the bar. The bar is in front of you. So sometimes with some people, they find it very difficult to be able to pull and get their back into that position. But if you do something off, I've got these angle 90s, or if you had a pair of gymnastic rings or a suspension trainer, something that ideally is free moving, it makes it a lot easier when you're pulling yourself, it actually closer to your midsection, and it makes it a lot easier as well that when you're in that neutral grip to be able to pull right down here, especially if you've got a suspension train when you can pull it apart. But normally the pull-up is in front of you and you're pulling like this. Sometimes it can make it harder to really pull the elbows back and down. Where if you have something like this that you can actually, when you get to the top, you can pull apart, you get a lot of a better mid-back activation. And because you can bring the bar so that actually in a way to the side of your head as opposed to in front, it makes it a lot easier to pull the arms back and behind, which is going to be a big driver for hitting your mid-back and spreading it apart to really work the rhomboids and the rear fly. So again, if you want to be able to do it, doing your pull-ups off a suspension trainer ideally, but if you don't have access to something like that, gymnastic rings or anything like that, where you can actually pull it apart mid-part and actually set the height, the right width for you, then doing neutral grip pull-ups is going to be next best bet. The other thing you can do to actually try and get more of your mid-back, or kind of get a bit more of the mid-back work when doing the pull-up, is actually start doing your pull-ups with a more of a narrower grip. If you start doing pull-ups with a really wide grip, it really does isolate and hit more of the lats. If you were to bring in a more of a narrower grip, it's a lot easier for you to get your mid-back involved because your elbows are more tightly in. It makes it then easier to pull and bring them close towards your ribs and even in behind them if you have a narrower width. Where if you have a wider one, it's going to make it a lot harder to actually hit your mid-back. There isn't going to be as much movement because your elbows are staying out to the side and flared as opposed to close and in and back. So try those sort of tips as well. And I'll see you guys in the next video.